Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Hey, welcome back to another fun episode of Next to Madison. This is our Christmas episode because it is almost Christmas. I can't believe it. If you guys go to our YouTube channel and you look at the video, you will see I am in my Mrs. Claus dress. I am feeling festive. It's exciting. So we've got a great episode. We're going to talk about investing in yourself. I'm sitting down with a dear friend of mine, somebody who works on my PR stuff. She's an amazing businesswoman and just an overall badass. She was on a reality television show. She's constantly hanging out with the housewives. So she's going to give us some fun stories. She's also going to talk about the importance of investing in yourself, what you can do to brand yourself or your business, and talking also about comedy. So this is going to be a fun, festive episode. So Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and let's get into it. So we'll be right back after this brief message.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I'm excited to announce that my new book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, is now available online and in stores. You can pick up your copy today by going to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. This new book is a humorous self-help guide to help you remove the obstacles that are holding you back so you can take things less seriously and live a more enjoyable life. I'm so excited for you to read it. Now back to the show.
On this episode, I have with me today one of my favorite people in the whole world. She is a stand-up comedian. She's a producer. She's the host of the Chanel in the City podcast. She does it all. She's amazing. She is helping me with building my brand. She's just a badass. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'd like to welcome Chanel Omari to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me, by the way. I'm going to try not to move.
Do you love my Santa dress?
I love your Santa dress. I love everything you're doing right now. You are such a beautiful little Santa elf helper. You are the perfect person. You know how much I love you. Thank you for letting me be on your podcast, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
I've been a big fan of your podcast before we met. I think it's a brilliant podcast. I think there's
thank you.
Such a niche. I love how you compare metaphors of dating and investments and just in general, being businesswoman. So this is an honor to be on your podcast.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to have you here. So some people don't know this, but you were actually a reality television star before you became like a business mogul. So let's talk about that. Tell us your time on that. Tell us about your time when you were on the Princesses of Long Island. Like, how was that?
Yes. So, right. People have typecasted me, I think, a lot. They're basing my character based on just that reality show, which was 10 years ago. Great experience. Here's what I tell everybody in entertainment business, whatever industry you're in, if you have a chance to do a reality show, I say go for it. The one thing I learned from the reality show is to be my authentic self at all times, the good, the bad, the ugly. And it was this vulnerability that I wasn't sure how it would come out on the show, but I felt in my gut that if I did that, it would be the best investment in myself for the world to see.
Yeah.
That, hey, this is me. This is who I am, good, bad, ugly. And I have to learn from my mistakes. And I want the world to kind of join that journey with me and let me know what my mistakes are and what I could work on. So I think it's reality TV is a mirror for you. It's therapeutic. Look, ideally, from a stand-up comedian or an author's side point, someone in the business that wants a certain career, an actress, producer.
Yeah.
Ideally, there's a stigma to reality TV. And that's what I didn't like about it. But I made it my own and I said, I'm going to own this because, and the funny part is the way it came about was I was producing behind the scenes. And so the producers saw that I had this lifestyle with my friends that they wanted to entertain, which by the way, you never know who you're going to meet, who you're friends with, why they'd want to do a show about you.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I was doing stand-up at the time for so long, open mics, shows. I was on radio from like the midnight to 5 a.m. shifts. I was working hard and nobody knew. And then when I had this opportunity, which by the way, nobody knew was going to be called Princesses of Long Island. I wouldn't have signed up for it if it were. You don't know the title till after. But I was like, I'm taking this opportunity because when will I ever have it? As comics and as actors, or artists, we tend to want to be picky about our dreams when sometimes it's the opportunity sitting in front of your face and you kind of need to take it and run with it. Yeah. And a lot of good things happen from it. Also, a lot of things that, no one's fault, but that were not so ideal. Like being, like you said, I am a business mogul. I am a woman of the arts. I do a lot more than just become a reality star. And so I don't think a lot of people know that about me.
Well, right, exactly. And so, and that's the thing too, is like I like what you said about showing the world who you are. Because sometimes um, when you expose all your secrets, so to say, there's no power over you. Nobody can
Right.
say, "Oh, I'm gonna release this about you." You're like, okay, well, everybody knows everything, so you can
Well,
say whatever
that's
you want.
exactly. That was the most freeing part for me is like nobody had on me, like nobody could be 10 steps ahead of me because I already was 10 steps ahead of everyone by putting my shit out there.
Yeah,
Like, okay, my
exactly.
ex-boyfriend, like for instance, people who haven't watched the show, tune in. It's a great Christmas, like holiday Hanukkah, like binge. It's on
Okay.
Amazon Prime right now. It's hilarious. But like my ex-boyfriend who I was going to get married to at the time, I was really serious. Our parents met and everything. Cause in the Jewish community, once your parents meet, it's a serious thing.
Yeah.
And that happened. He broke up with me on national TV. I showed my ugly side of like, you know, when you react to breakups and you're hurt, or the fact that I wasn't married at age 27 at the time, which is like looked on as an old maid. I'm 38 now, so I wonder, I'm like a grandmaid. Um,
Me
you're gonna be
too.
like, Granny, me and my granny friend, she's
Yeah.
timeless and ageless and whatever. But that is very frowned upon. Like even now, it's almost like, what's wrong with this girl? She's 38, she has it all together, yet she can't get it together with a relationship, which is another conversation. But I showed that. And to me, it was like, that was the biggest investment for myself because when
Yeah.
you invest, you want little costs or liability. So I'm just comparing it to finances. Like, so pretty much I managed my own crisis. I put it out there. So there was little liability for it. And then everything that came on it was like, you know, the vulnerability, the cost of it. Like I invested back in myself saying, I'm cool with putting myself out there. I'll give other people advice. I'll turn this into another avenue, like, which I'll get into, which was why I started the podcast. But, you know, I also helped a lot of people through, I realized, with the vulnerability. See, you don't know who you're
Yeah.
helping when you don't fake it and you're actually vulnerable. You're actually impacting other people's lives. And that's the only reason I did that show, was to impact other people who were going through the same thing I was, you know?
Yeah, no, it's very well said. And you think about, I think that's maybe why the Housewives franchise is so successful, is
Yeah.
because we do, even though these women seem like they live quote unquote perfect lives with, money and clothes and fame and success, you do see a lot of the challenges they go through, which can make people like me think, oh God, I'm really normal, and not fucking
Yeah.
batshit crazy. Or they can also say like, okay, they have to deal with it too.
I'm so
So
happy you said
they
that because
become
that
relatable.
relatable. And that was the point of our show, was as far as relatable as everyone might have thought we were. Six Jewish women who moved back home with their parents, who come from privileged backgrounds. By the way, the reason we wanted to tap into that was because it was the boomerang generation at the time, which is important to know that everybody was having challenges, whether you were broke, money, middle class, people were moving home with their parents at a late age. Because unfortunately, that was the whole point of like college doesn't make you going to college and graduating with a 3.9 GPA, which I did, doesn't mean you're going to be ready for the world. Just
Yeah.
because you're raised in a privileged family doesn't mean you're going to be ready for the world. Like we had our own challenges, even being raised as this perfect lifestyle, because everyone would say to us, you have this perfect life. Your friends are perfect, Chanel. What, they call it white privilege problems. Like what can be so bad? But hey, when your parents aren't around, that can fuck up with your mind. Like you're having a
Oh,
void now that your parents are leaving you, which were a lot of my friends' cases, it left us alone at a very young age to be exposed to a lot at a very young age. And I'm not saying we're playing victim, feel bad for the rich. I'm just saying, by the way, my family wasn't even that rich. We were going through challenges of my dad living paycheck to paycheck just to keep up with the Joneses, which was my own struggle. Like imagine going to these rich women's houses and you're going through bullying as it is. And then you need the popular kids to like you and not really know much about you, and you keep on living your life in secret. So these are like the challenges I wanted to talk about, that people
yeah.
just think, I have this perfect life, I get whatever I want, which is why people like hate on me a lot, because they assume that I've like got everything I wanted, which you're close to me. I
Yeah.
I struggle every day.
Right. Well, you're a hard worker, but I think it's like things happen for a reason and you were able to evolve. And maybe if you had gotten everything, you wouldn't be who you were today. So it's a blessing.
Correct. And
Yes.
look, just because you're a princess, also the word princess, I want to clarify, was meant in the Jewish religion, in Judaism, a princess is like a positive thing. It's how you hold your head from grace, like our forefathers' wives, how we like can overcome obstacles in life. by
Yeah.
holding our head up high, by doing better, by doing the right thing. That's what a princess is. And I think a lot of people took it and ran with it in a negative way. And, people are jealous as it is. There's also a lot of anti-Semitism. So I think that in itself made the show hard to succeed, continuing it. And I
Okay.
think with me, it made it like, to me, it was an overall great experience. I got to also learn a lot in who I am, like you said, but I also wanted people to understand, like, just because you're a princess or a celebrity, you can't get everything you want. You might not get that guy you want. You might not get that job you want. You might not get, really like that finances you want. I just want people to understand in perspective, like the grass is always greener on the other side. And that goes for like a Meghan Markle,
Yeah.
Ariana Grande. You think these people have it all, but you
Oh,
don't know what they're struggling with internally, mental health wise,
yeah. No,
We talked about this, like you're beautiful, you're kind, you're brilliant. You're
oh,
a book author of one of the number one selling books out there. You have an amazing number one podcast. I even said, I wouldn't think anything's wrong with you. And you're like, well, Chanel, get with it, because life isn't perfect for anybody. Like, I'm human. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's really relatable. Like, how ignorant of me to just assume that her life is perfect because she's beautiful and she has all these things going for her.
yeah. Well,
And you come from an amazing family. I've witnessed,
oh yeah. Yeah, no, the
it's like,
family's amazing, but yeah, I think it's like when we assume, because we all like have our challenges, some things might be easier for me compared to others, and then some things are more difficult than others. And it's kind of like, so you just have to remember that everyone always goes through their own challenges and struggles. And but let's talk about you. Then you ventured into stand-up comedy, and that's
yeah.
where we
So
met, which was great. So I'm glad you did that.
I know. So a lot of people don't know too. So everyone's like, how long have you been doing stand up? So I was doing stand up comedy. This Princesses was 10 years ago, because I remember we invited the producers to an open mic and a regular show. I was producing shows at different venues like Broadway and Greenwich and The Stand and, other big comedy clubs all over for years. And then I was doing open mics, but then when Princesses came, I took a step back because I was filming full time for like 2 years. And then I came back into it because I said to myself, I knew. So on Princesses, I was more of the comic relief, if you see the whole thing. And, I'm more of the comedian, the one who kind of brings people together, says like funny things that I wrote myself, witty things that like punctuated the show more and emphasized on like who I was in the group. And I
Yeah.
would say like a lot of times I'm more of the life of the party. And then I started doing stand up. So I did stand up all the way through, kept doing stage time, because after Princesses, I realized you're just because you have a one hit show and you're famous for a while doesn't mean you're going to have your next gig. So
Yeah.
I realized the importance in stand up was practicing that muscle of comedy, acting, being quick on your feet, writing, and all that helped me perform. And it helped me get auditions, and it helped me be better on my podcast. It just, and it's just my first love. I love stand up. I love making people laugh in real time. I realized there was a different effect with that than reality TV. Like,
Yeah.
I can make someone laugh on camera in a green screen interview, but it
Right.
wasn't the same effect in physical time. You know how it is. Like,
Yeah.
it's a rush when you do that.
Oh, right. It's amazing. I always say it's a drug that you can't buy. Maybe that's what kept me off drugs. It's because I already
It's a
had
drug that you can't buy. You're right. I love that. And then I opened, I had the opportunity to open up for big people during COVID and before COVID. It was before COVID, Cedric the Entertainer, George
Oh,
Lopez,
nice.
and they kind of took me under their wing, because with the women thing, I would say as men, those are probably the only men in the industry that really embraced women in comedy,
Okay.
especially younger women, where they were never condescending about my performance. They were always encouraging. They would give me opportunities professionally to open up, because based on my funny or my value, not based on sexually, because there's a whole other thing like that in the industry.
Yeah.
So I had the privilege of opening up for them, opening up for Mark Norman, Jessica Kirsten, doing like, and having them open up and headline for my shows, which is something that's important to me, because I want to be ultimately a stand-up comic, but also like a producer, and an actress, which is a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. So I think stand-up is where I continue to shine,
Yeah.
and there's longevity in
Very
it where,
funny. Very
because if I'm not on TV, I hit the stages. That's a great career to have as an entertainer if you're never on camera. Like,
yeah. Well, you can consistently work.
Yeah, and you're making people laugh all the time of all different, diversity. It's awesome. Like you're bringing everyone together. That's ultimately why I do what I do, is not for the fame or the vanity of it. I actually want to give back. I want to impact people, make them laugh, make them feel less alone with whatever art I do. I want the story to tell itself and make people feel like, oh my God, I can relate to this person. I feel this way. I'm going to make changes in a positive way because of this.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So what do you feel has been your biggest challenge in stand-up comedy?
Being a woman.
Okay, how so? Because I don't
So
feel
I
it as much.
You don't feel it.
I'm trying to transition out being more of a speaker, but
Right.
I didn't feel it that much. I felt that the white male had more of a challenge in today's environment than I did.
That's interesting. I think for me, it's not just being a woman though. It's I think being a multiverse, diverse woman, right? Because I am very proud of my roots where, my mom's Colombian and my dad is Israeli Arab. He has both nationalities that he raised us with both cultures that were very important. I think knowing I wasn't predominantly white, I look white, but I'm not white. Um, I'm not only those nationalities, but on top of it, my religion is being Jewish, which again is very hard. I think in the industry, it's just hard to like, I don't want to accuse anyone. We have a lot to do with working on anti-Semitism, but just
Yeah.
the industry, you would think that the industry they say is owned by Hollywood Jewish execs, but it
Yeah.
doesn't make it easier for Jewish people to succeed in it. Does that make sense? Like, that's why
Yeah.
that's kind of like a myth. Like, there's all different types of Hollywood executives. There's black, there's Asian, there's Jewish, all in power. There's white in power. So it's not really like that was like a myth we got because maybe a lot of Jewish people like they knew how to take that and turn it into success in Hollywood. But I just think that I've had a challenge. I've had a challenge to prove myself, even being a reality star, a former
Yeah.
one, or I might not be funny enough because I'm a woman, or my jokes aren't tight enough, or I can't pass at this club because I got to jump through hoops because I might not be pretty enough. I might not use my sexuality in the way I need to, or might use it and still not get it. Like, meaning if I've dated someone in the industry and that they weren't supporting me or helping me to get through, which I agree, no one should do that for you. I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I'm still trying to articulate my way through of like why these challenges. Does that make sense with the sexual? Like I
Yeah.
have friends, for instance, who use it to their advantage. They actually get parts just because they're pretty. They'll get stage time. They'll get it offered to them easily where they might not sleep with the person and get the stage time, but it's because of their beauty and they're thinking it's because they're funny. And I'm sitting there being like, but I worked on this and you saw my results and I'm working hard. Like the
Right.
Rachel Leigh Cook of fucking Freddie Prinze Jr., trying to prove myself like I'm worth it. I deserve to be on this stage just as much as everybody else. And a lot of it is politics.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is like who someone likes.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
there could be yeah.
here's the thing too, is like when you said that, like, oh, if somebody's pretty, they easily get these things. I don't think it's just pretty. I think maybe it comes down to like mindset as well.
Okay,
Because
interesting.
you
What do you mean by
said,
that?
oh, you're pretty, meaning me, right? I didn't find that I got things easily handed to me by any means. But before I wrote the book and I talked about the challenges in it, my mindset wasn't as confident as I appeared. So I think it's got not only to do with the looks, but I think it's
It's
a
the mindset. I
mindset
agree.
as
Like,
well.
because I
Like
was a
once
little
the
bit like,
mindset crosses that, then you're going to start. So I think maybe what you could almost take from that is like, wow, it's really not my look. I need to work on the mindset and the confidence
agreed. It's the
behind it.
mindset and the right, because we can't control our looks, right? Like we could try to work on our appearance and be put together, but
Yeah,
you're
we
so
can
right. Like
enhance them, but we can't.
if I had the mindset, maybe I would be more attractive. Like, oh, this girl means business. Like she is all about work. Or it's like I told you I was bullied a little bit, and you were like, wow, that wasn't my experience. Like by other women in the industry who weren't supportive, who like lied and faked nice to my face and then created this reputation about me that wasn't true because of jealousy. And here's the thing, I'm all about speaking truth, but I'm also about business. I don't have the time to fight with you. Like if it's you sabotaging me behind my back at a comedy club about a spot or a show and you get it and I don't, it's like God will find the karma and I'll find something else that's for me.
Well,
Like I'm not going to
exactly.
stop going because of other people bullying me. But I've always had an issue with bullying my entire life. Like even through princesses or behind the scenes as a producer or in school, like there's something about me, even if I try to make nice,
Okay.
it like almost like sacrifice. So it's almost like I became a people pleaser to get out of bullying. And then the people pleasing kind of instigates the bullying further because I don't say anything, right? I don't defend myself. So everyone's like, oh, she is that person I'm saying she is.
And let's talk about that for a second, because I think people sometimes don't realize when we think of bullies or we hear that word, we think of the younger generations at school. We think of elementary school kids and then high school and then
Yes.
maybe college and that social media thing. But you don't think about how bullying actually continues on. I mean, I've heard there's
In
bullying.
adulthood. I mean, you were just bullied in front of me like so many times that were so uncomfortable for me to witness. And I'm like, she
Oh
has a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
she has a
With someone we won't
she has
mention.
a tough skin.
Stop talking. But it's kind of like, here's the thing is like sometimes you people be like, wow, you're being bullied, and then sometimes how you interpret it is like, no,
Right.
this person's just a direct pain in my ass, and
Well,
I
it's
don't
like you
want
said,
that kind of
mindset.
energy. Let's stop it.
Yeah,
So
like that's why I
then,
admire where you come from about it because you're not like becoming the victim. You're actually becoming the hero in it by saying, I'm going to push this noise out because I know it's not about me and I'm
yeah,
going
I
to
was like, I
empower
don't
myself.
care. Yeah, it sounds like drama, but that leads to the point. Like if you are an adult and you're dealing with bullies, maybe in a professional environment or with a social group, maybe in your neighborhood, because I've heard this from friends that, a lot of stay-at-home moms and they have, close
Yeah.
circles and their kids play together in the country clubs and blah, blah, blah. And they have people that are rude. My thing is like when people are rude, obviously it's something in them, but also you can just pull yourself away from it. Like, so it's about how you kind of interpret it. But I heard this analogy and I wanted to bring it up because I think
Yeah.
it could go with bullying and with confidence. And I don't know if it was a social media thing, but this woman said how to become, it was like, I don't know how to become magnetic or own a room. So when you walk into a room, whether it's a bar, a party, an office, whatever it is, okay, in your mind, picture, even before you kind of walk into the room, picture the four corners of the room. And then
Okay.
in your mind, picture yourself grabbing all four corners and just owning them. And then walk into the room.
Okay.
It's going to give off an energy because we're all energy, it's going to get off an energy. People will be like, who is that? And it's going to help with that confidence thing. Because
But do you feel that energy with that confidence triggers more bullying? Because I've noticed when I had that
no, I
confidence,
think it's
that's what
less.
triggered a lot of bullying to be like, because I think they want to teach you a lesson
No,
of like,
because
let me,
when you're truly confident, that
right.
quote unquote bullying will not impact you anymore.
Correct. It won't affect you. You're so right about that.
Yeah, because when you're confident, you're like, okay, that's just noise. They're broken in their own life. I don't need to fight back. I don't need to
I
prove
don't need to
myself because
engage.
I'm confident. So it's kind of working on the confidence, which is the key. And I've talked about this in the book. I've talked about it on other podcasts. Like the most successful people in the world have super high confidence. And that is one of the key ingredients of being successful because they rely on themselves, they know themselves, they don't let these outside bullies or noise or negativity affect them. They take it for what it is, just bullshit in the air, and they push it away. So
Right.
maybe now, like when you step into these comedy rooms and you feel like, okay, maybe I'm not the prettiest in the room or this person's getting more than me, you need to take that as maybe a sign to be like, oh, there's something in my confidence that needs to be worked on.
Yes. That's something I've been struggling
Because I didn't have
mental
the
health
confidence.
wise.
I may have you, as you said, quote unquote, had the looks, but I wasn't getting things that were given to me.
No,
Oh,
of course you worked so hard, but there
yeah.
are some just girls, they might be not the prettiest. It's
Maybe
just
they're
some
lucky.
cute girls that just get, I see it like they're in comedy 1 or 2 years and they're getting everything like, and I'm not saying they're not working for
Telling
it.
you, I think it's
It's
also
mindset.
it's a mindset. I'm telling you, it's a mindset. And I tell everyone,
Yeah, they have confidence in themselves and people could see it.
So
which
we
is what
just
I'm
had it.
working on now.
Yeah, we just
To
had an
confidently
episode.
being myself so people can say, oh, I see that through her. Maybe I can't fuck with her like I
Yeah,
used to, or
she's unaffected.
she's unaffected.
We just had an episode about the power of the subconscious mind. And I talked about this book I listened to on Audible called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And I listened to it, and it's like 6 hours. So whenever I'm at the gym or whatnot, I'll listen to this. But he talks really about like how two people can be maybe exactly the same, like maybe they're in the exact same environment, but they experience life very different because it's how they interpret things. So when you find yourself getting upset over things or saying, okay, this isn't working, or I'm feeling insecure, you're like, all right, I got to go back to my subconscious mind. And something on that episode that, so you guys have to go back and listen to that episode if you haven't, that blew my mind was when we go to sleep at night, this is where the power of the subconscious mind really kicks in. So right as you're about to like doze off, some scientific term, I forgot what it was, but that's when your subconscious mind becomes alive, is in the middle of the night. So most people go to sleep and they're laying on the bed and they're thinking about all the terrible things that might have gone wrong that day, all the people that maybe were mean to them, things that didn't work out, why life feels hard, and they run this negative fucking bullshit loop, because I did it for years. Did it
Yeah,
for
I still
years,
do it.
unknowing that what it was doing to me. So then I go to sleep and all that bullshit is now entering my subconscious mind, which is 90 something percent of your mind. So my whole life I'm operating on this I'm not good enough thing. And when I heard that, and I'm better obviously, like now, like I'm able to like, get rid of the negative, go to the positive, but I'm still human, so those things happen. But now I didn't even realize that's how important before you went to sleep to reprogram your beliefs in your subconscious mind. Right before you go to sleep, I now say like money comes easily to me. I am happy. I am lovable. I like all the things I want and all the things I'm grateful for. That's all I'm saying. I'm not thinking about the guy that didn't call me back. I'm not thinking about the dude that fucked me and never called me. I'm not thinking about any of that bullshit. I'm not thinking about how like I could be struggling in other ways. I'm like, no, because that's going to fuck me up. I ran on that program and that program doesn't work. I'm running on a different program now.
Right. You're
So
right. It's
that's
about changing the mindset, which you're helping me through, like off and on camera. Like I've called you many times to be like, hey, I need to change this mindset. It's way too toxic. Like I can't for the rest of my life tell myself that I'm a piece of shit just because everyone else does. Like it's just not normal or healthy
and
or
it's and first of all, it's not true.
it's
So
not
we
true, but everyone's going to have their opinion about you, like you said, because they're projecting what they want to see. Like,
exactly.
ooh, a lot of the reason why Princesses Long Island, they didn't want to see me, a lot of haters, because like to them, it's like, this is not my interpretation of who should be famous, right? And this Jewish girl who's not the prettiest in their eyes, I am confident of my
Gorgeous.
look.
Okay, so
Thank you.
stop with
And I
that.
feel that way. And there's, by the way, there's a look for everyone. I don't need to be like age. I've gone over the fact of being like Adriana Lima or what's textbook pretty to attract.
That's not who God made you. God made you
Right.
perfect in his eyes. And that's how you always have to remember that. When you feel ugly, be like, yeah, my mom used to tell me this when I was little and I would feel like insecure or like, oh, I hate my hair, or I hate my cellulite, or I hate whatever it was. My mom was like, every time you bash yourself, you're bashing your creator. God made you perfect in his eyes, and you are perfect in his eyes. So when you talk negatively about yourself, you're really bashing him. And that
Wow,
was
that's a
like an
great way to
aha
like look
moment.
at things. That's a great
Yeah.
way to like, really be positive about it all.
There was this woman I saw on TikTok, not that I'm like promoting TikTok because it's Chinese spy agency apparently. But there was this woman and she is what many might refer to as not pretty. But I watched because when I first saw it, I was like, what is this? And I watched the video. By the end of the video, I was like, I love this person. She's so beautiful on the inside. She said, people call me ugly all the time. And it used to hurt me. And then I just remember that God made me so perfect and beautiful in his eyes. And as long as I'm beautiful to God, then I don't need to be beautiful to everyone else. I'm proud of who he made me to be. And by the end of this video, I'm following her and I'm like, she's like amazing and just really amazing. But when you kind of think about that, um, now I should tell
Yeah,
myself
it's
that every time I run to go get Botox, but whatever.
well, I should say that's what I'm saying. That's a
I'm
power of
keeping up
God,
his
a power of
appearance.
love. You're like, yeah, both of us. Before we get Botox, we're gonna watch that TikTok video. But that's the power of love, the power of God, the power of society, right? Like how real it could be. I love that you said, and she's saying, really being unaffected is the most powerful thing you can do.
Not caring is
Not
the
caring.
powerful thing.
Because
And
what does it do when you care? I thought caring was showing people my passion, showing people I care, right? Showing people that, because there was always so many things that would happen in my life being like, Chanel, you don't really care. I realized later on that was gaslighting or turning things around to make me feel guilty. But at the same time, really the power of knowing you're God's child, knowing you were created in a perfect time for him, knowing that it doesn't matter what these humans think because we're all human. We all don't know our ass from our elbow. We all pretend like we're God and we know what's going to happen, but we all fuck up. We all,
yeah.
that's what we have to remember. And you're right. It's being unaffected and mindset that can create the power of your beauty, where you don't need to get the Botox. You don't need to get the nose job. You don't need, like, you can really immerse in your, so what if that guy that you loved didn't, and it's never about the pretty, right? When he leaves you,
It's not, because you sometimes you see
it's
these
maybe
men,
about the novelty or the new or the,
or like you see these men and you think like, oh, that's not who I would figure they would end up with. But then you meet these women or these men that these girls end up with, and you're like, I see it. I see it, because looks fade. You can only hold on to it so long, right? They do fade, but
attraction, right? By the mind, like you got to be attracted
yeah.
to the person.
Well,
Like I feel like the guys I pick, it's never like they're physically the hottest. It's more like their soul, their mind, they're brilliant. And I'm so attracted to that. I just wish men are more vain. It's
they're
harder
more
for them to like,
visual, so they become more vain. Yeah. No, it's true. And that's why it's just like, I feel like when you live the happiest life is when you just kind of surrender and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna do what
yes,
this is what I can control, this is what I'm gonna fix, and this is what
that's so much more freeing, by the way. Sorry to
yeah.
interrupt.
And like this is what I can't control. And I had a little bit of people pleasing back in the day where and I still have it just a little bit, and I didn't know I had it until a friend of mine pointed it out to me. And they were telling me to ignore somebody who was texting me, a
Okay.
man. And I said, well, I can't just ignore them. That's so rude. When people ignore me, it hurts my feelings. Why would I do that? And they're like, here's your problem. You give too much. You explain too much. You don't owe these people an explanation. And I go, but isn't it kind of rude just to just disappear and not talk to them for 7 days? And she said to me, didn't he do it to you? And I said, yeah, it was more than 7 days. She goes, so what is the problem? And she said, you don't have to explain yourself, but like when things are not healthy, you just vanish. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You're absolutely right. But I didn't realize that. I thought by giving him an explanation of, hey, I thought about this. This isn't right for me. This isn't going to work for me. This is why. And she's like, why? 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 They're not even going to read it. They're going to be like, done. Like the silence is sometimes the best. So yeah, people pleasing can be one of those things. You want to be
Yeah.
kind, you want to be nice, but if people can't interpret it the way that you intend that, then it's on them. But here's the thing. So let's go into business, because
Yeah.
you are tremendously helping my business, my book, my brand, my podcast, everything, because you not only are a former reality show producer, you also host a very successful podcast, Chanel in the City, and you have a production company that is like a PR company as well. And
Yeah.
you're like a fucking badass. I
I
mean,
mean, I try. Right. Well, so
people
here's
know
my,
my name because of you.
well, that's not true. People knew your name way before me. But what I say is, yes, we are a full service production company. So after Princesses, I realized, so my production company is called CO Productions. After Princesses, I realized I can't bank on this reality star stuff for that long. I might not happen again, where I even become back on TV, right? And I might not have my dreams come true where I'm a full-time actress either. What can I do with my skill set? So a lot of people don't know this about me. I used to produce, I worked my way up from production assistant to associate to producer for all the following shows and talent: Maury Povich, Anderson Cooper,
Wow.
Barbara Walters, Katie Couric, ABC News, NBC News. The list goes on. Pitched and developed shows around Lifetime, got them sold. So I have a long resume that people are like, I can't even. The reason why I don't talk about it, first of all, I think there's a humbleness in it and no one really asks and they just assume. So I feel like when you ask is when I tell. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute. I used to try to put myself on other shows, get in front of the camera. the needle wasn't moving. So like I wasn't getting opportunities. And I'm like, oh, wait, I have to create these opportunities for myself, whether they're in stand-up, podcasting, or owning a production company. Now, let's say I didn't become a successful podcast host or an actress. Guess what? I have my own production company that's still making and creating business and helping other people along the way get famous. So a smart businesswoman knows, let's say I made you famous. I go along the ride with that because I'm creating that. I'm helping executive produce that. I'm helping produce the content for that, make the brand better. So I said to I always tell people, always have a backup. Even as a producer, we always had this rule, always have a backup guest, always have a backup story. Always, that will save your life in every capacity and make you a smart business person because you're not stuck on one thing. And if that one thing's not making money, you fall back on the production company. Now, the production company is producing Chanel in the City podcast. No one was producing it for me. So I had to have my own production company. A lot of people were coming to me after Princesses, seeing the success I had in the press. They were like, how do you keep yourself relevant in the press after one-time reality show and just being this struggling stand-up comic? Because most people don't write about a struggling stand-up comic at, the Stand or New York Comedy Club performing on their stages,
Yeah.
I'm not a princess anymore. I don't have the money. I am broke, still performing. And they were like, I want to develop show ideas. You have connections. So what really helped me with Princesses is having a good relationship with Bravo and all the networks that I produced for and all the production companies I freelanced for over the years. Now I have this database and all the publicists and editorials and writers from all these outlets now became resources for me to help other people like you and other clients like housewives that are major clients of mine and celebrities, that we've worked with. We worked with like Kevin Bacon and Cedric the Entertainer, who were both on the podcast. So we decided like, what avenue can we create where all these resources and context can not only be beneficial for me as a talent and podcast host, but for my clients as well. Because I still see what people didn't understand. They're like, oh, she's a princess. Oh, she's a reality star. She's going to have money forever. It's like, no, that's a myth.
Yeah,
I'm still a struggling act. It's basically saying I'm a struggling actor trying to make it. So when is my next gig? Whether it's on the stage, on the camera, or on the radio. So what a smart businesswoman does is like, what can I do if I can't? Let's say I can't work full time for Sirius XM or NBC because they don't have jobs for me. How do I make my production company and outsource a broker? We're like the broker, the third wheel of working together with other people and getting what I want. Getting my name as an executive producer out there, developing and selling shows, developing and promoting brands, but also getting myself out there as this mogul, right? Because here's the thing, I can give you so many examples. People used to say to me, Chanel, you do too many things. It's too confusing. It's like, no, Lena Dunham, Issa Rae, they've all been executive producers and creators of their own shows.
Exactly.
Their own business moguls. They have their own podcast. They're actors in other shows. They write books. The list they produce other shows for other people. It's like me producing a show for you, which we're working on, and saying Chanel Omari serves as an executive producer on Madison Malloy's new TV show based on her new book. It's time to line the fuck up. I just gave somebody a formula of like, that's how you make it make sense, right? And it's like you said, who gives a fuck? Excuse my language, but like, who gives a shit? Who knows? All these little people, I call them little people because they're the noise, and they want to ask how to get famous and successful and relentless, yet they're the ones who are giving you shit and criticism for it. And it's like, well, maybe if you had this mind, you wouldn't ask why. You would get it done. Like, I don't have a choice but to get it done because my parents.
And you have to think big.
I have to think big because my parents, they don't pay my bills. They don't pay my rent. They don't pay even that coffee that I need to buy or that lunch. I have to think of all this. And then not only that, on top of it, kind of be humiliated to my peers in the industry because I'm not a reality star anymore. I'm not a full-time producer, right? So I have to figure out a way to do it all and still create my position in this industry as a respected full-time person and not have people say, but wait a minute, I thought you do stand up and now you have a production company. Yeah. My production company produces my solo talent stuff.
Yeah.
That's the smartest thing to do is like, it's kind of like Schultz or Girls Gotta Eat. They didn't rely on other people. They relied on their own entertainment, their own production, their own people 100%. To push them. And now they have moguls. Like that's the way to be.
Well, here's the thing is, you can't pigeonhole yourself. And when people say, well, you need to focus just on this, or you need to just do that. Well, I disagree with that. Cause I'm like, I think this life is so fruitful and abundant that you can do multiple things. Now you want to be able to focus on things, but if it's within the same kind of realm, like why do you have to limit yourself? I tell my corporate friends this a lot, right?
Yeah.
Just because you're an accountant, why do you have to be an accountant until the day you retire? Couldn't you like
Interesting.
start a side hustle on the side, or if you're a
Right.
banker or whatever, like you're only limited by what you believe in your mind. And
Agreed.
you have succeeded at that to where you're like, I'm not limited to anything. I love entertainment, but guess what? I love all parts of entertainment. And I realized that not only am I funny, not only am I good on camera, but I'm really good at putting this shit together and
Yeah.
making it happen. And I have really good relationships that I know how to nurture. And I'm going to make this work. And everybody that works with you fucking adores you and loves you
Thank you.
because of that. So you have mastered that. So if that doesn't give you all the confidence you need, I don't know what will.
Thank you. Yes, you say that to me also. And I say to myself, when people ask me, how do you do it? It's like, I'm a doer. I'm a driven person. And I figured out
You
I like to
also
do like,
enjoy it. You also
I
love, you
enjoy
have to
it. You
love what you
see
do.
it. Yeah, I love it. That's why when you see or my clients see, like, I'm just as passionate of doing I will give you my 150% on that stage for stand up as I will promoting your brand or producing your brand or, and here's another thing, an opportunity. If I had pitched your show on a book and got in it as an actor and an executive producer, well, guess what? That's an opportunity I could have missed if I had my ego involved or didn't want to help the client get to that position. Like people don't they're very small minded. They're not innovative enough to like they need to look past the box. How do I get myself there if everyone's telling me no in the most traditional way?
Yeah.
How do I get myself there in the non-traditional way?
And the other thing too is like when people say, or they're afraid of, let's say, competition. And they're like, oh, I really like, you see this with actors a lot when they go to audition and everybody
Yeah.
looks at them, right? Because it's that role. So you're like, God, it's like a bunch of like mini me's running around.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like you can't fuck up what's meant for you. I'm a big
Right.
proponent of this. And you
Right.
always have to remember that like you're gonna nobody's taking anything from you because
Right.
what's
That's
meant for you
that's
will
what
always
you've
be
taught me,
for you.
which
So
is
you
by the way,
yeah,
yeah,
so you
sorry.
want to
Oh,
bring people up because you're then going to be brought up as well. Like the more you give, the more you get. And it's the same thing not only
yes.
with money, with time, with whatever it is. So if you're like, hey, I want to help this person. Now, if the person's an asshole, you should not help them. You should be like, you know what, fine, I'm done.
Well, it's like you said, it's like also surrounding yourself with those people like you that are positive, that see everything in me that I want them to see, and really surrounding yourself with those people that will take you to there and that you can have
Because
that honest conversation like,
yeah,
hey, Mads, I know you have this big opportunity. How can I work with you to join into that opportunity that will benefit you and me together and
exactly.
set us both up for success? Because, like you said, there's room for everyone to still be the star and eat. Just
Well,
because you're
exactly.
on Us Weekly doesn't mean it's going to take away from me getting into Us Weekly or another form of entertainment
Yeah.
of based on what I do. And you need to surround people, but you're okay with that.
Well, yeah, and
There's some people in this industry that they just want it to be about them, and those are the hardest people for me to work with.
and
I
they
don't know
might
how this,
and they might not have a very long career because of that, and they're going to
right,
burn a lot of bridges, and not only that, they're going to have a lot of self-induced stress that goes on them that's going to push other opportunities away from that. But yeah, when you were saying the people you hang out with, I follow a lot of like business financial people on Instagram, and I love them. And there's this older guy, I forgot what his name was. I don't agree with everything because he's not a fan of Bitcoin and I am, but he's like got this like really like he's very loud. He's probably got to be like 75 years old. He's like, you motherfuckers, like he's very like abrupt, but he's like, you show me the 5 motherfuckers you hang out with, I'll show you your fucking financial future. You are broke because
wow,
more motherfuckers are broke around you. Okay? They don't have to be rich today, but they have to fucking think rich. And they have to think outside of the
so
box, right?
true.
That's who you need to be with. So if you're around people who are always getting together, let's use the housewives example, not the housewives to
Yeah,
television, housewives in suburban neighborhoods. If they're all getting together for lunch every day, bitching about their husbands or bitching about their in-laws, there's just a self-fulfilling toxic fucking circle, and eventually
exactly.
worse things are going to come out of it. It's the same thing with like who you're around, and like that's when you said you witnessed it when we were out and people kept bringing this thing up of this person that's insecure and rude that is kind of a bully to me a little bit. Like I didn't want to hear it. It didn't affect me. I didn't care. I was like, change the subject. I don't want to hear about this. Like, it's negative. Like, do
Well,
not,
that
I don't
inspired
want
me.
the drama.
Drama. That
I
inspired
don't
me
want
how
the
to
drama.
handle, actually, not like just blowing smoke up your ass. That inspired me how to handle my own situations. I feel like I got stronger because I used to call you crying, being like, what do I do? This person's bullying me. And it's like, you were like, well, you don't have to entertain it. Like,
No.
this person doesn't own you. They're not your parents. They don't pay your bills. Like, you're allowed to say no, thank you, and move away from the situation. So there is no, because the
Yeah.
power in moving away, you've taught me, is so amazing because it really does deflect the drama. And it does actually put the respect forth, like, hey, you better respect me because you shouldn't feel comfortable enough bullying me if I'm not going to be around you. You know, if I choose.
Exactly. And like, we have a friend that won't be mentioned, but who I love to death, but I think kind of thrives a little bit on that drama, hearing the drama, getting involved in the drama. But some people do, and that's fine. And that
But
just,
that doesn't mean it has to be
when
your
they come
problem and that
into,
you have to
yeah,
engage in it.
when they come into my circle, I don't want to hear it. I don't
Right.
care. I don't give a fuck. I want to talk about good stuff. I want to talk about success. I don't want to talk about the fucking drama. Like, sometimes it's fun to hear drama, but like 5 minutes. I don't need to hear
Right.
it.
Right. Exactly. Like, who needs to hear? Sorry, I wanted to make sure. Who needs to hear? I think you have to put your foot down about it too. And like you
That's what
said,
I did
you
that
have
night.
to
I was like,
train
enough,
yourself not to
done,
be
done.
unaffected. Like, I'm done. I'm not letting myself do this. And also back to like investment, like investing in your like finances, like investing in yourself is the way to go. And that's how you invest in yourself, by saying, I am not talking about this. I am removing myself from this, whether you like it or not. And I am not going to allow this to affect my positivity, my presence, so that it affects others, you know, because people will try to instigate what they think is the truth, what they feel. And a lot of times it's for their own gain and agenda. It's they're protecting people they love. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
So you have to put that in perspective. Like, they're protecting people they love and they want to get their truth out about. It's just amazing to me how it's always the people that don't have a, what is that phrase? They don't have a stick in the game, yet they want to always like insert their dumbass opinions. And that's what
Yeah.
creates more of the drama. And then they want to call you dramatic, which is hilarious to me,
Right.
for staying away from the drama. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, no, I really don't have time for this. No, but it is true. And you always have to understand, like, we're all unique human beings, we're all made, but we all think differently, right? So when, people, a lot of people are getting bullied right
You
now.
said something interesting, that every time you go down to their level, you lose stock in yourself.
Of course you do.
You
Yeah.
do.
And so many people are being bullied right now. Like, let's just bring up the most heated thing ever, which is people's difference of political opinions. And people are really using this as, some political parties more than others are using this as, like, I'm going to use this to attack you and torment you and hate you and think you're the worst person ever. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, stop watching the news, dude. Like, none of this is true. They're telling you this.
Right.
But like, when you're dealing with a political situation, because I've dealt with it, you're just, I feel like when you just kind of own it, or you just say, like, yeah, I hate both parties, like, I think they're both equally
Or
fucking
here, I have the
stupid,
facts for both
then
parties. This
they
is
stop.
my opinion. And
They
right.
they
Or
stop.
like, I would appreciate us not getting into it, or you respecting. I think we have to stand strong in our convictions sometimes, as women or in general as humans, of like, it's okay to say the truth, even if it's going to offend someone. We're so
Well,
scared of offending everyone just because we say our truth, but we have to get more confident, like you said, in our own power to say, hey, I have facts about both parties. I rather
yeah,
remain,
and you have to,
anonymous
like,
or politically, or I don't want to get into this because I don't want to start having, a debate. And even just saying that is okay,
well, exactly, because here's the thing, you're not going to change anyone's mind. Nobody's going to change your mind when it comes to that.
Right.
People are pretty formed at that point, right? So I think it's also like, in kind of anything, it's like owning what you do, but working back to the, when we talked about the confidence, working on building your confidence is so key, because then you're going to care less. And we're living in a very sensitive society.
Right.
And people are afraid in our industry, let's say, for certain, is people are afraid to be canceled, right? But somebody came out
Right.
and they said, you can't be canceled if you don't agree to it. And with so
100%.
many
I mean,
other,
I've been trying, people tried to
yeah,
cancel me since princesses, or all the time. And I'm like, I'm not going to allow it.
what's crazy is, like, I like create reality shows and I want to have those, but getting into the book business and helping people in the book business and now having more stuff coming up. I love the book business because I feel that I can be more of my authentic self, and
Yes.
Hollywood can't quote unquote cancel me because they don't own me. I
Amen.
kind of own
Exactly.
myself. So they have nothing to cancel me over. But let's say they found something, God forbid somebody made up something. I'd be like, well, okay, well,
Or
that's
you
the
have to
point
just
of,
stand in your conviction.
well, here's the thing. And that's the point of doing more than one thing, because then you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to put some more energy over here. You don't want to,
Correct.
you can't do that. Well, you didn't take away my lifestyle. You just shifted my focus. And that is true fucking power.
And it's true power when you don't let your right people own you, which is why I had the production company and my own podcast. You know, I was on
Yeah.
terrestrial radio. I had a shift, but it was very challenging because you're answering to a lot of men who don't agree with who you are. So they're
Yeah.
trying to constantly change who you are. And you're like, but I love me and I want to be me. Where can I be me?
And when
Instead
you're
of trying to
the
take
most
everyone's
confident,
bullshit and trying to become
exactly.
someone different. Yeah.
And when you're really, truly, truly confident, so work on this. I encourage everybody listening to this. I'm sure you listened to the episode last week. If you didn't, go back and listen to it, and then encourage you for this episode is to, before you're falling asleep and you're dozing off, those positive affirmations and beliefs need to go into your head, because the more confident you are, the less you're going to give a fuck. And that
About.
is fucking power.
And it's also time to line the fuck up by
Yes.
listening. Like sometimes you also like you kind of taught me this, which it was very empowering to me. Like just when you chill and you're just in your own authentic space, you attract like this good energy flawlessly. Like you said, like not trying so hard, just being you. Like I find myself sometimes I'm trying so hard to please people because they're the ones asked demanding for it. And I'm like, who the fuck are you demanding this from me? I'd rather just walk away from you,
Yeah.
keep it moving, and like surround myself by positive people that don't dictate where my happiness should go.
Exactly. And you have to also remember, like, hey, if somebody didn't make you feel good in the past, you don't have to hang out with them. And that was a problem that I had for a long time, where I was like, oh, I can be friends with everybody. No, you can't.
You can't.
You don't
And
need
it's
to. You don't
okay.
need to be
I
anywhere.
realize that too. It's okay to
You don't need to
not
be
feel
friends.
like you're right friends with everyone or close with everyone. Like
I
my
don't
ex.
have time. I don't have time. I remember I told this woman, you're gonna laugh at this, that I wanted to be friends with this guy I used to date. I said, but he's cool. We should be friends. And she goes, why? Why the fuck would you be friends with him? And she
Right.
goes, do you fuck any of your guy friends? I go, no, that's why they're my guy friends. She goes, have they ever tried to fuck you? I'm like, no, that's why they're my guy friends. She was like, how often do you see your guy friends? I wish I could see him more. I don't see him enough. Well, that just answers your question. You don't need any more fucking guy friends. Why the fuck do you need to be friends with this person? I go, amen.
Exactly.
You're
And
right.
by the way, I just want to clarify that doesn't mean you're like a lot of people say to me, well, aren't you running away from the problem instead of confronting it and like staying there, like staying at the party that you're not invited to? And it's like, yeah, I used to think that way. I used to be that girl that fought for myself and held my head up high and was like, I'm not going to be excluded from this just because you wanted me to. But
Nope.
there's more power in not going and having self-respect for yourself. I realize as you get older,
Yeah,
like you
you
don't
just
have to be
gotta,
the life of the party that you're not invited to. I'm using this as a metaphor, and you don't have to like be there to prove a point, to
yeah,
be like confident in who you are, like, or to be like, oh, I wasn't invited. First of all, if you're past the age of 25 and you're talking about this bullshit, something severe, no, mental health, you really have to get
sure.
help because
It's
it's
true.
not normal to act like a 16-year-old when you're past that age. It's not normal to act like that in corporate. It's not normal to act like that in comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you from experience,
Yeah,
like I was like
and
that.
you can feel it. Like it's normal if like maybe your neighbor didn't invite you to a party. You can feel bummed, but you can't dwell on it. You can be like, well, I'm a little disappointed
Right.
this happened, but that party's gonna suck because I'm not fucking there. That's how you have to start thinking too. I heard this analogy before we go, before we you tell everyone where they can find you and listen to your podcast. There was an analogy that somebody told me. It was years ago. It was like 6 years ago. I was going through the breakup of my life. It was like, blah, it was awful. I felt so, couldn't eat. I was so depressed. And somebody
So,
said to me, in breakups and in life, if you're not welcome there and they don't want you, you need to pick up your toys from the toy box and go play by yourself. And I thought, that's such a good analogy. If you don't want to fucking play, if you don't want to play with me, I'm going to grab my toys and I'm going to go play with somebody else. And I was like, it's such a cute analogy too. It's like,
that's such a
okay,
great
well,
analogy.
my toys are coming with me to a different
Right.
sandbox.
I'm not sharing it. Yeah.
And not my sex toys. I was referring to like buckets and shovels and all that good stuff, you know? All right. So wait, okay. So you have a fabulous podcast. I was recently on it on iHeartMedia.
Yes, you were. You got to tune into this episode with Madison on Chanel in the City podcast. It was so empowering because Madison talks a lot about tips on how to deal with everything we're talking about, how to, you know, my biggest favorite chapter in your book, Time to Line the Fuck Up, and the segment on Chanel in the City is about making sure to work on not letting fear get in your way. So no matter how small, how big, if it's sending that email and you want to prolong it because you're not writing it perfectly, that's fear. Get it out of the way and write that email. Those are things that fundamentally have changed my life in the last 2 months. So I know it works. And the episode, we talk about how dating compares to investments. I love that analogy of like investing in yourself, number one, so that another guy can invest in you. And also don't invest in one guy in the beginning, invest in three, you know, so that you don't have your expectations. So we talk a lot about a lot of good self-help,
it's a great
self-worth,
episode, you guys. Check it out.
self-love episode. Check it out now. We have a lot of housewives coming up and a lot of Bravo people coming up because Chanel in the City is affiliated in terms when I say Bravo, we have a lot of good relationships with Bravo talent. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to like the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City coming up, Family Karma. Yes, we have a lot of good interviews from housewife franchises, Winter House, Summer House coming up. So everybody's favorite Bravo. There's a Winter House spinoff from Summer House. Such a great show. One of my favorite shows on Bravo. You got to binge watch it if you need something to binge. But also like celebrities like that talk and comedians and influencers that literally talk about variety and how they literally had obstacles in their life and how they overcame those obstacles to get to where they are now. Just like you, how you came over these obstacles and you still wrote a successful book. And even now there's challenges with your book that you need to get it to number one. Like I always say to everyone, you're never like happy with success until you really make every dream come true. I feel I can't.
Once you make 10 million, you want,
or you're happy.
100 million.
You want 40 million. Yeah. It's a never ending. That's why I say be happy, like work on your happiness in general.
Yeah.
Small or big.
Yeah.
If you're always happy, everything you'll appreciate and it won't be too big. The goal won't be too big for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. No, absolutely. And then where can they find you, your social medias and all that? Drop all that.
Please follow me at Chanel in the City podcast, at Chanel Omari, and at the All-Star Comedy Show. You were on the show. We have a stand-up comedy show we produce. I host it every month at the Stand and different multiple locations. We raise money for City Harvest, which is a big charity near and dear to my heart. I love giving back when I can, and it's helping end homelessness and giving someone who in hunger, who is hungry in the city, a meal, a good meal, fresh meal to eat, finding them a place to sleep, really helping, you know, people in need that we can help. You know, we have so many resources and generating money and awareness. And you can go to cityharvest.org. If you don't want to donate money, donate your time. That goes a long way to help bag the groceries, help make the meals. That's what I do during Thanksgiving and holiday season. This is the holiday season. It's the time to go and do that. Yeah. And you're helping people get off the streets because listen, any one of us can be on the streets. That's what I've learned. Amen. What I've learned from having a reality show and being on top, you can lose it in a minute. You can be the doorman, you can be the janitor. So never think you're above. You can be a taxi driver like my father was when he first came in. Don't ever think you're above the job just because society labels us in different ways because you never know where you're going to end up. That's what I've learned.
Yes.
So keep it humble, keep it kind, keep it moving, keep it cute, keep it nice because you just don't. When I didn't keep it nice and I thought I did, I lost everything. I saw my father lose everything. I saw good people lose things and I saw bad people lose things. So
yeah, it can happen. Yeah. You always got to stay humble. Our grades are all the same size.
All the size.
They're all
shit, I didn't think of that. That should go on a t-shirt, merch line.
Yeah. Merch line. Stay humble. Our grades are all the same size.
That's amazing. I love it.
Oh, it's true. Well, Chanel, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I had so much fun. And everybody listening, wherever you are, we will find you next time or see you next time or you'll hear me next time, whatever it is. Happy holidays. Have a great, I hope you're having a great Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. If you're listening to this after Christmas, I hope you had a great Christmas. 2023 is going to be a kick-ass fucking year. So continue to tune in. We got a lot of great stuff coming up and I appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.